Money is so old, most of us take it completely for granted and fail to think through how or why certain monies emerged. I know I completely overlooked this. Like as I started getting into Bitcoin and study monetary history a little bit, this is something that really stood out to me, is digging into for what reason do monies emerge? And obviously good monies have certain characteristics and properties that make them selectable by human beings to transfer value over space and time. That's one of the definitions we gave of money, was it's a tool that we use to transfer value across space and time. So I think there's 5 characteristics that best encapsulate the properties of money and the reasons why it's been selected on the free market. These are the same 5 characteristics I heard Robert Breedlove's cite on an episode with Preston Pish, the Investors Podcast. He did a really good job going through these 5. I'm going to include some of what he said and some of my own stuff. The 5 characteristics I'm going to run through quickly and provide some definitions for are these: durability, portability, recognizability, divisibility, and scarcity. All right, so to start with durability, the property of money is that it must persist over time. A good has to be something that cannot be easily destroyed. So for example, bananas can't store or transfer value because they rot. They're not durable. Second, portability. Money must be movable across space. So goods have to be easy to store. They have to be easy to transfer. They have to be easy to trade. So an example here of a good that's poor at portability is, say, livestock. It's not portable. Can't be moved very easily. Third, recognizability. A money has to be easy to identify. You have to be able to deem it as authentic. Someone has to be able to decipher that it's not being counterfeited. Fourth characteristic is divisibility. It's got monies and stores of value need to be easily subdividable into small units such that we can transact at different scales, essentially. Fifth is scarcity. Another word for this would be hardness or soundness of money. And I think history shows us very clearly that scarcity is the most important characteristic or property of money. Essentially, scarcity is the idea that something is resistant to supply inflation. So every actor or every participant in a money network obviously has an incentive or a reason to produce more money, right? Everybody wants more money. So if you can make more of it, you're going to do that. So if this is easy to do, if it's easy to create or inflate money, money becomes worthless. There has to be a finite supply for something to be valuable, to store and transfer value. I like this quote by Nick Szabo. He says, money must have unforgeable costliness. So these are the 5 characteristics, and there's more. I think most of the other properties, though, can be fit under one of these 5: durability, portability, recognizability, divisibility, and scarcity. And in this episode, I'm sure, and in many episodes to come, we're going to talk repeatedly about these characteristics and properties and how they pertain to different types of money: gold, Bitcoin, fiat, you name it. But historically, it's important to realize that the free market is honed in, as I said, on tools that best satisfy these characteristics. And it's quite clear through history that gold has emerged as the best store of value asset our species has ever had, right? Gold's existed for 5,000 to 10,000 years. It's still just as valuable today as it was 6,000 years ago. Selected on the free market over time. And I think the reason it was selected is because of its durability and its profound scarcity. Gold has the highest stock to flow model of any commodity out there. In other words, it has very low and predictable supply inflation. Another way to say this is it's super difficult to extract from the earth, and it's extracted from the earth at fairly repeatable, consistent intervals. So for that reason, it has been the hallmark of scarcity for our species. And then secondly, it's incredibly durable. It doesn't corrode. It lasts forever. I think it's said that almost all the gold that's ever been mined is still extant, meaning it still exists. So gold is the best money we've ever had, but in the last, 3 to 5 centuries, as economies have grown in size, as markets have become significantly more global, and one could say as money velocity has increased, gold's shortcomings, its weaknesses, have proven to be far more obvious and cumbersome. So gold lacks in 3 main areas that I mentioned. It lacks in divisibility, recognizability, and portability. So with divisibility, you can only subdivide gold to a certain point, right? If you were buying coffee with gold, you'd be transacting in gold dust, for example. I heard Breedlove say that. It also lacks in recognizability in the sense that when you're moving gold between two parties, you need someone to assay its value, to weigh it. And if you don't have that happening, then you need to trust a third party to, say, coin it, right? Like a government. So recognizability is a flaw. And then third, portability. Quite simply, metals are super heavy. They're obvious and expensive to move. So to tie this all together, what I'm saying is that history shows us gold is the best, and some may say the fairest money our species has ever had. But eventually, growing markets necessitated expansion and change in monetary technologies, in monetary tools. And that's what ushered in the idea and the concept of gold-backed currencies, such as banknotes, cash, and then eventually leading up to our fiat system, placing us on the road to where we are today. And here's the quick spoiler in case the audience wants to get super horny for Bitcoin. Bitcoin harnesses and I would say improves on gold's strengths. So its strengths of durability and scarcity, while at the same time rectifying, and I would argue perfecting, gold's shortcomings of divisibility, recognizability, and portability. And that is why I, along with many other individuals, would argue fundamentally Bitcoin is the best money our species has ever had.